Magandang araw mga bata! Ako si Ma'am Regine, ang teacher mo sa math. Today we will be learning about measures of central tendency. This is a lesson for grade 7 mathematics under quarter 4, lesson 6 and 7. Kaya tara na and let's do the math. Quarter 4 of the grade 7 mathematics curriculum deals with statistics. In the previous lessons, we've learned about statistics, its functions and purposes, as well as the important role that the data play in statistics. Statistics is a way of collecting, organizing, presenting, analyzing, and interpreting data for future decision making. In lesson 1, we've learned about statistics and how we can collect the data. In lesson 2 and 3, we've learned about the ways on how we can organize the data. And in lesson 4 and 5, we've learned about the various ways on how we can present the data using graphical representations. The next step after presenting the data is analyzing it. And that is what we will discuss in our lesson for today. Are you familiar with this symbol? This is what we call the sigma. It is a Greek letter, which is the standard notation for writing long sums. In mathematics, we use the sigma notation a lot when we pertain to addition, and we will be using the sigma notation as we learn about the measures of central tendency. In the analysis of data, we have what we call the summary measures, which are numbers that measure various properties of data. And there are two important types of summarizing the measures, one of which is known as the measure of central tendency. It is a numerical descriptive measure which locates the center of the distribution that summarizes a set of numerical data. Technically, the measures of central tendency are the scores or the values where all the other values in a distribution tend to cluster. Kaya central tendency, the center of the distribution. And we have three main types of measures of central tendency. We have the mean, the median, and the mode. The mean is often denoted as X with an accent bar on top of it, and this is read as X bar. A median is denoted as X with this kind of accent, para siyang curve. Usually, nakikita natin ito sa mga enye. This accent is known as tilde, thus this is read as X tilde. Lastly, the mode is denoted as X with a hat-like figure accent on top of it, and this is read as X hat. In this lesson, we'll be focusing on finding out the measures of central tendency for ungrouped data. In comparing numbers, we need to find a single number that will represent the entire distribution. Mean is one of those. It is the sum of the data divided by the number of data, and that is why it is commonly referred to as the average of all the values. It is the most popular among the measures of central tendency, for it is widely used. However, the disadvantage of using the mean is that it is affected by extreme values. It is the most commonly used measure of central tendency as it is used to describe a set of data where the measures clusters or concentrates at a point. To find the mean for an ungrouped data, we need to follow this formula, where X bar stands for mean, sigma notation pertains to the addition process, F stands for frequency, and N is the total frequency. We will be using this formula to find out the mean in this sample problem. The picture card numbers of different countries which Sam collected are 96, 98, 98, 105, 36, 87, 95, 93, and 105. Compute for the mean. We are looking for the mean, so we'll be using this formula. Substitute the values. Ito yung ating mga raw data given in the word problem, 96 hanggang 105. Dahil may sigma notation, it means we need to add all of them. Ito yung ating nasa numerator. And then for denominator, substitute n with 9 because we have 9 different data. Perform the operation. Added all together, the result will be 813 divided by 9. The mean for this word problem is 90.33. Aside from the mean, another measure of central tendency is the median. The median is the middle value of the set of data provided that the data are arranged in an array which may be either in an increasing or decreasing order. It splits the distribution into halves where 50% of the scores lie above the median and 50% lie below it. We'll be using the same word problem wherein we'll be computing for the median this time. Para makuha natin ang median, we need to either arrange the data in increasing or decreasing order. So ito yung ating data, raw data. Arrange muna natin in an increasing order, meaning ating data will be arranged from least to the greatest value. Ang lowest frequency natin ay 36 at ang highest natin ay 105. While on the other hand, kapag decreasing order, it's the total opposite. We'll be starting from the greatest to the least value. 105 yung ating highest frequency up until sa ating lowest frequency, which is 36. Once you're able to arrange the data in either increasing or decreasing order, hindi naman kailangan na dalawang beses mo siyang i-arrange, whichever is preferable for you, increasing or decreasing. You can now identify the median of the set of data. In the set of data, wherein the total number of frequency is 9, kitang-kita agad natin na ang median ay 96. Ito yung ating fifth data. Ito yung nasa gitna. Therefore, in the set of data, our median is 96. The set of data in example word problem number 1 is an example of an odd set of data, meaning yung ating number of data is equal to an odd number, which in this case is 9. The median in an odd set of data is always the middle number when the items are arranged in order of magnitude, in either increasing or decreasing order. While in an even set of data, meaning the number of data, the end value is equal to an even number, the median is determined by computing the average of the two middle numbers. In this case, ito ang ating example, we need to compute for the median. The scores of 10 students in Mr. Anderson's class are 64, 59, 63, 60, 65, 66, 66, 66, 61, and 76. Find the median. In this case, yung ating total number of frequency ay 10, even number. First, we need to arrange the data in an increasing or decreasing order, whichever is preferable. In an increasing order, we'll start from the lowest frequency, which is 59, and the highest frequency, 76. Kabaliktaran nito yung decreasing order, starting off with the greatest value, which is 76, and yung ating dulo ay yung least value, which is 59. Now, we may notice that we have two values for the median, 64 and 65. What we'll have to do is to add both of these middle values and then divide it by 2, which is 64 plus 65, or 65 plus 64 divided by 2, which is 64.5. The median for this set of data is 64.5. Aside from the mean and the median, we can also use the mode as a measure of central tendency. Mode is the number which occurred most frequently in the data. Let's find out the mode in the previous word problems that we've had earlier. In the set of data, we can clearly see that the mode is 66. Because out of the 10 scores, 66 occurred 3 times. Therefore, 66 yung ating most frequently occurring data in the set, kaya siya ang mode for this word problem. This word problem and set of data is what we call unimodal, meaning we only have one mode for this set of data. Uni means one. Another word problem, find the mode for this set of data. Since sa set of data na ito, medyo magulo siya, we can arrange it in either increasing or decreasing order para mas makita natin yung mode ng mas mabilis. In this case, we'll be arranging the data in a decreasing order from the highest value up to the least value. We arrange the data in either increasing or decreasing order so that we can see right away which numbers occurred most frequently. In this case, we can see right away that 105 occurred twice. 98 also occurred twice. And then the other values, each of them occurred once only. Therefore, the modes for this word problem and set of data are 98 and 105. This is an example of bimodal, meaning there are two modes in a given set of data. Another example, what is the mode in this set of data? 90, 88, 94, 93, 85, 97, and 91. There is no mode in this set of data because as we can see, even if we arrange it in an increasing or decreasing order, all of them occurred once. Wala tayong isang specific na value which occurred twice, thrice, or so. Lahat sila pareho-parehong once. Therefore, there is no mode in this set of data. Another instance is that all of these data, say for example, appeared twice. Say, dalawang beses nag-appear each yung mga data. In that case, since dalawang beses silang lahat nag-appear, still there is no mode in the given set of data. Dapat merong isa, dalawa, or so na mga digits na nag-appear na most frequent as compared to the others. This time, we'll be finding out the measures of central tendency, the mean, median, and mode for the grouped data. When we say group data, we are pertaining to the data that are bundled together into categories. Let's have a sample word problem. The data represents the scores of the 40 students in a mathematics test. Ito yung ating set of raw data wherein ang ating end value ay 14. Our first task is to compute for the mean. When finding out the mean for a group data, we need to follow this formula. Where x bar refers to mean, we have the sigma notation that pertains to the addition process. F is for frequency and X is for class mark. When we say class mark, as we have discussed in lesson 3 about the frequency distribution, class mark is the middle value that may serve as the representative of the class interval. From this formula of the mean, you can also see Fx, which is the product of frequency and class mark. We also have sigma notation Fx, which is the sum of the product of frequency and class mark, and sigma notation F, or the total frequency. We will be using this formula of the mean for the group data, but before we do so, we have to construct a frequency distribution out of this set of raw data. Aside from this set of raw data, the given that we have, the number of classes must be 8, and the class width must be 3. Class width is also a familiar term as discussed in lesson 3 about frequency distribution. Class width is the difference of two consecutive upper limits or lower limits. Organizing this set of raw data into a frequency distribution, we have 5 columns. The first column is for the classes. The second is for the tally. Third for the frequency. The fourth column is for the class mark. And the fifth column is for Fx, or the product of frequency and class mark. And we have 9 rows after it. Yung 8 rows ay para sa ating 8 classes at yung ating last row ay para doon sa kanyang total. Starting off, in this set of data, 7 is our lowest frequency and the highest frequency is 30. Now, in forming class intervals, we've learned from lesson 3 that there are some conditions that we need to be satisfied. First, we need to exhaust all the data. Meaning, lahat ng ating mga data, it must be exhausted in each class intervals. Therefore, yung ating lowest frequency na 7 ay ilalagay ko dito sa first class. At yung highest frequency na 30 ay ilalagay ko naman dito sa 8 and last class because we have 8 classes. To ensure that each of the data included in this set of raw data must belong in one of the class intervals that we'll have to form. Aside from that, we know that each class interval must have the same class width. Since yung ating given na class width ay 3, Yung sumunod dapat na lower class limit sa 7, they must have a difference of 3. That will be 10. Dahil 10 minus 7 is equal to 3, and that must be same for all the classes. Last condition in forming the class interval, there must be no gaps and no overlaps. Kaya naman from 7, kung ito ang ating lower class limit for this class, ang ating upper class limit ay 9. After 9, yung next natin na digit ay 10. Say for example, meron tayong value na 9 dito sa ating set of raw data. It only belongs in this class interval 7 to 9. Yung ating pangalawang class interval is from 10 to 12. Kaya kung meron tayong 11, it only belongs to this class interval. Each of these data, they only belong to one class interval. They cannot belong into two different class interval. As for the class width, pansinin din natin, yung ating two consecutive upper limits, 12 minus 9 is equal to 3. Kaya yung class width natin for the entire classes in this set of data, it must be 3 all throughout. Let's fill out the column for the class intervals, 13 to 15, 16 to 18, 19 to 21, 22 to 24, 25 to 27. After 27, we have 28 up until 30. In this frequency distribution, we have 8 classes and 8 class intervals. The class width is 3 all throughout, and each of the class interval has 3 values. Say for example, in this class interval 7 to 9, the 3 values are 7, 8, and 9. Ganon din yung ibang classes. Meron silang tagtatatlong values in each class interval. Once you're done in forming the class intervals, tally the frequencies, these frequencies from the set of raw data. Then write down their frequency or their numeric values. The total frequency is 40. This is the sigma notation, meaning we'll have to add all these frequencies together so we can get the end value, 40. Now for the class mark, you need to find the middle value of each of the class intervals. Say for example, in this class interval 7 to 9, the class mark is 8. Because in 7, 8, and 9, the middle value is 8. And that will apply to the rest of the class intervals. 11 ang ating class mark for class interval 10 to 12. 40 naman para sa 13 to 15. 17 para sa 16 to 18. 20 para sa 19 to 21 class interval. 23 para sa 22 to 24. 26 ang class mark ng 25 to 27 class interval. And lastly, for the class interval 28 to 30, ang ating class mark ay 29. Once you're done in filling out the frequency column as well as the class mark column, next thing that you'll need to do is multiply them together for each class interval. Say for example, for the class interval 7 to 9, multiply the frequency 1 by its class mark 8. 1 multiplied to 8 is equal to 8. The same process applies to the rest of the class intervals. 11 is the result of 1 multiplied to 11. 56 is the result when you multiply 4 and 14 together. 6 times 17 is 102. 14 times 20 is equal to 280. 10 multiplied to 23 is equal to 230. 3 times 26 is 78. 1 times 29 is 29. Once done, add them all together. Nakikita natin yung sigma notation, meaning we need to add all of them together, which will result to 794. Now, going back to the formula for the mean, what we need is the sum of the product of the frequency and the class mark and the total frequency. Substituting the values, 794 and 40. 794 divided by 40 is equal to 19.85 rounded off to the nearest hundreds. Therefore, ito na yung ating mean for this set of data. Next measure of central tendency for group data, we need to compute for the median. This is the formula for the median. Where X stands for the median, LB subscript MC, it refers to the lower boundary of the median class. Added to, F here stands for the frequency. This is sigma notation. 2 is a constant. This one, as we can see, this is the symbol for less than, an inequality symbol. CF, it stands for cumulative frequency. So this is cumulative frequency of the lower class next to the median class. I stands for the class width, and FMC, it stands for the frequency of the median class. Aside from that, notice that we have sigma notation F, which refers to the total frequency. Sigma notation F divided by 2, it means that the total frequency must be divided by 2. Using the same set of raw data, we'll be computing for the median using its formula. But before we do so, we need to add another column in the frequency distribution for the cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency is a familiar term to us because we have learned about this under lesson 4 and 5 for presentation of data. One of the ways on how you can present the data is called the ogive, or also referred to as the cumulative frequency graph or cumulative frequency curve. Cumulative frequency is simply the total of a frequency and all the frequencies so far in a frequency distribution. For us to compute for the median, we need to fill out the column for cumulative frequency first. For the class interval 7 to 9, ang ating frequency For the class interval 7 to 9, ang frequency ay 1. Kaya for the first row sa ating cumulative frequency, write 1. And then add them all up together. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. 2 plus 4 is equal to 6. 6 plus 6 is equal to 12. 26 plus 10, 36. Added to 3, 39. And 39 plus 1 is equal to 40. Malalaman nating tama yung ating cumulative frequency kung yung ating last data, which is 40, ay katulad ng ating total frequency, which is 40 as well. Now that we have filled out the column for cumulative frequency, it's time for us to find out which among the classes is the median class. The median class is the class with the smallest cumulative frequency greater than or equal to the total frequency divided by 2, wherein the median is located. Our total frequency for this frequency distribution is 40 divided by 2. Substituting, that will be 40 divided by 2, which is equal to 20. Looking closely at the frequency distribution, we will notice that out of the cumulative frequencies that we have, 26 is the closest to half of the total frequency, which is 20. 26 is the smallest cumulative frequency that is either greater than or equal to half of the total of the frequency. That is why our median class for this frequency distribution is 19 to 21. In the class interval 19 to 21, which is the median class, 19 is the lower class limit. We have learned in lesson 3 about frequency distribution that for us to find out the lower boundary of a class interval, we must deduct 0.5 from the lower class limit. In this case, 19. That is why 19 subtracted by 0.5 is equal to 18.5. 18.5 ang ating lower boundary of the median class. Next, alam na natin yung half of the total frequency, which is 20. Next element of the formula, we need to find out the cumulative frequency of the lower class next to the median class. Again, the median class for this frequency distribution is 19 to 21. The cumulative frequency of the median class is 26. And the lower class next to the median class is the class interval 16 to 18. Ang kanyang cumulative frequency ay 12. Therefore, 12 is the cumulative frequency of the lower class next to the median class. Huwag tayong malilito mga bata, bakit 12 at bakit hindi 36? 12 ay nasa taas ng 26. This is pertaining to the lower class. Huwag tayong malilito, it's referring to the class interval. Notice that 16 to 18 is a class interval lower than 19 to 21. Yung 22 to 24 na class interval, this is the next class interval that is greater than 19 to 21. The classes are arranged in an increasing order. Kaya yung mga nasa taas, nandun yung mga mabababa. At yung nasa dulo naman, iyon yung ating class interval kung saan nagko-contain ng matataas na frequency. Kaya ang next class that is lower than 19 to 21, yung katabi niya, which is 16 to 18. Next natin hahanapin yung FMC, frequency of the median class. 19 to 21 ang ating median class at ang kanyang frequency ay 14. So this is the frequency of the median class. Lastly, I is the class width. Ang ating class width ay given na, which is 3. Kompleto na yung ating elements para makompute natin yung median for this frequency distribution. Substitute all the data. Ang ating lower boundary of the median class is 18.5 added to 20, which is half of the total frequency, minus 12. This is the cumulative frequency of the next lower class after the median class. 14 yung frequency of the median class, and 3 yung ating class width. Perform the operation following GEMDAS. Inuna natin i-perform yung group together. 20 minus 12 is equal to 8 divided by 14. 8 divided by 14 is equal to 0.57 rounded off to the nearest hundredths. Next thing to do is to multiply 0.57 by 3 because according to GEMDAS, we multiply first before adding. 18.5 added to 1.71, which is the result of 0.57 multiplied to 3. Add them together. The result is 20.21. This is the median for this frequency distribution. To measure the central tendency of a group data, we can also use the mode. And this is the formula that you will be using, where X refers to the mode, LBMO refers to the lower boundary of the modal class added to D1 is the highest frequency minus the frequency of the next lower class. D2 is the highest frequency minus the frequency of the next upper class, and I is the class width. Using the same set of raw data, we'll be computing for the mode using this formula. To find out the mode of a group data, we only need the classes and its tally with frequency. First thing we need to find out is the modal class. It's the class with the highest frequency. Looking at this frequency distribution, the highest frequency is 14, which is contained in the class interval 19 to 21. Therefore, 19 to 21 is the modal class for this frequency distribution. First, to find out the lower boundary of the modal class, 19 to 21, we need to look at the lower class limit, which is 19. Deduct 0.5 from the lower class limit of the modal class so you can find out its lower boundary. That will be 19 minus 0.5 is equal to 18.5. This is the lower boundary of the modal class. Next, we need to find out is the D1. It is the highest frequency minus the frequency of the next lower class. Ito yung ating modal class. It contained the highest frequency out of the frequency distribution, which is 14. Yung next lower class natin ay 16 to 18. Ang kanyang frequency ay 6. Subtract them. Magiging 14 minus 6, it is equal to 8. Therefore, 8 is D1. Next, finding out D2, which is the highest frequency minus the frequency of the next upper class. Ang next upper class natin ay 20 to 24, frequency ay 10. Subtract them together. 14 minus 10 is equal to 4. Ito yung ating D2. And lastly, yung ating class width ay given, which is 3. Now that we have identified the necessary elements in this formula, substitute the values. Lower boundary of the modal class is 18.5. Added to yung D1 natin ay 8. D2 ay 4. Class width 3. Perform the operation following GEMDAS. Nauuna muna yung group together. 8 divided by 12, which is the result of 8 plus 4. 8 divided by 12 is 0.67, rounded off to the nearest hundredths. Next thing to do is to multiply 0.67 by 3. The result is 2.01, added to 18.5, which is equal to 20.51. Therefore, the mode for this frequency distribution is equal to 20.51. Now, you may get another result for the product of 0.67 and 3. Say, for example, you didn't round off 0.67 to the nearest hundredths right away, and then you multiplied it to 3. The result will be a whole number 2. Added to 18.5, that will be 20.5. And that is correct as well. And that's it for our video for today, mga bata. Give this video a thumbs up kung natulungan kayo nito sa inyong lesson. Also, feel free to comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, ang Teacher Mo sa Math, for more grade 7 content. Turn on the notification bell para lagi kayong updated kung meron na tayong bagong video. And of course, don't forget to share this video para mas marami pa akong mga grade 7 na batang tulad mo ang maabot at maturuan, dahil ako si Ma'am